right, you're listening to Geekvice once again, the official podcast of the Dungeon Crawl in your back alley. I had nothing. That's
Welcome, everybody, to Geekvice episode 118. And if you are following regularly and you think that we have skipped an episode because we went to 118, you would be mistaken. 117 was posted just over the weekend and was a crossover event with the Doug and Eddie show. So we posted, it was myself and Eddie from the Doug and Eddie show talking all about Transformers. So we had a big Transformer Geek Fest. So
we could have called it the Morph and Eddie show, I guess.
We could have. We could have. All Kip did was start the recording for us because I couldn't get it working that night, and so Kip set the recording, and then he watched TV with his wife while Eddie and I recorded. So that was fun.
Yeah, I just kept it on the coffee table, and every now and then I would look to see if you guys were still talking,
which shouldn't have been too hard because we talk a lot. But yeah, you guys need to go check that out. It's you can find it on our Libsyn page. You can follow it on our blog, Facebook, YouTube. It's all there. I'm going to rename the one on YouTube so that it fits into the right order. Because that's actually, I believe, earlier in the feed since we recorded it quite a while ago and held on to it to post with Eddie when they could get it on there, fitted in their schedule. So it came out at the exact same days for both podcasts. So
yeah, it's like we planned it and everything.
Yeah. Who would have thunk it? Us plan something?
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah. So how are you doing, Kip?
I am doing reasonably well. How about yourself?
Not too bad. You know, we did have an impromptu Geek Fest gathering on Saturday where you and I and your lovely wife went and saw Deadpool again.
Again, yay!
So yeah, that was a lot of fun. And let's go ahead and just jump right to the main topic here. This was your first time in the cinema suites, correct?
I did a fork and screen. I think that's different.
That's different.
Yeah,
that's different because the fork and
first time.
So, okay, for those of you that don't know, and I sound like the expert, although I'm the person who goes to the movies out of this group the least, but this is the movie theater that I've gone to the most. It's the AMC 30 in Olathe, and this, I actually looked it up. This is the only theater in the Kansas City area. Actually, I think I can even go as far as saying this is the only theater in the state of Kansas that has the cinema suites. And so the difference between a fork and screen, which I'm sure a lot of you heard of in the cinema suites, fork and screen, you sit in a little bit larger but not quite recliner style chair. So it's a little bit bigger than your normal movie theater. And then you have basically like a bar table that sits in front of all the chairs in your row. It's just one big like bar table. And that's where you can get your food and it'll be, set there and you can eat and drink and do all that stuff during the movie. Now with the cinema suites, you get the same kind of setup, except one difference is fork and screen, you just have to be over 18 to get in there. Cinema suites, you have to be over 21. And in the cinema suites, you have a recliner with basically a personalized table that swings over your lap so that you're eating right in front of you. And a nice little cup holder that will easily fit a 24-ounce beer, which is key.
Which we had to check out for ourselves. We had to make sure that worked.
Yeah. So for your first time in cinema suites, what did you think? We've already talked about the movie, so let's just forget the movie. Let's talk about what you thought about the movie theater itself.
I enjoyed the fact that we started off the movie experience at the bar.
Yep. That's really nice.
We each got some beers. And then we moseyed into the theater carrying said beers, which was very nice to do. We sat in the very back row, so I'm curious if this is going to be a symptom of every row. But if you're not very tall, aka my wife, the little wall
Did she have a hard time seeing over the top of
cut
it?
off part of the screen.
You know, I didn't think about that until you just brought that up. And yeah, that does kind of sit a little bit. And it's pretty much like that on every row, unless you were to get there is that walking aisle that kind of separates the very front from the, you know, it's like that in every movie theater. So there's probably that first row right there. If you were to get that one, it probably wouldn't be so bad.
Well, I imagine the closer you get to the screen, the lower you are, the higher the screen is, the wall comes into
Yeah,
less play. But
that's
that very top row where you're kind of looking down a little bit
yeah.
cuts off part of the screen.
No, that's fair. That's fair enough. You know, being as somebody who is taller than average, I don't have that problem.
Yeah, I didn't have that problem either. But
Just
I asked my wife, I said, how is it? She goes, I can only see half the screen. I was like, oh, that's not good.
That's funny. That's really funny. We'll have to remember that next time. We'll have to get one a little bit lower. This just happened to, I was really kind of surprised. Even, Deadpool has been out now for what, 3 weeks, almost 4 weeks.
Yeah. Oh.
And this movie still, that theater almost sold out. Now, granted, it's a smaller theater, but we also saw it in the middle of a Saturday. It wasn't an evening show. It was a matinee show. So the cheapest tickets you could get, the cheapest time to go see the movies, and that theater still, the 3 seats that we got were the last 3 seats together. After that, there was only single spots. So, that's kind of surprising, but that says a lot for the movie itself too. So
This is the movie's holding up well. Even if you can only see half the screen, you still enjoy the movie.
it's a good thing she'd already seen it multiple times already.
And she walked out of it saying, you know what, she had just as much fun this time as she did the first time.
Yeah.
Which I think everybody can say that movie is great.
Oh yeah.
But I like the fact that you order food, they bring it to you. You can push the little red button if you want more. They get the credit card and stuff taken care of before the movie starts. So all he has to do is bring you your bill and you sign it and you're done.
Yeah.
That part I really like that part.
Which, my wife and I have been to the Cinema Suites a couple times, and the first time that we went, they didn't handle it that way. They brought you your check, and then you'd put your credit card in there just like you would a restaurant, and then they'd have to come back by and pick up your check, and credit card and swipe it and then bring it back for you to sign. And you could tell that kind of caused a little bit of a problem because it was a little bit more of a distraction with them constantly going back and forth. But this time with them taking that credit card up front, that was genius. Like, that worked out great. So right at the end of towards the end of the movie, they just brought you the bill and said, you're done. You're not going to order anything else, because who's going to order anything right before the movie ends? That's kind of dumb.
Yeah, that is kind of dumb.
So I thought it worked great. I also love the fact that the guy since we walked in there with the beers, he asked if we were going to want refills on that during the movie so that he could go ahead and make sure he had down what we ordered. So all we had to do was tell him we wanted drinks, and he could just get exactly what we ordered, what we had before.
Yeah, which is, that's customer service at its best, especially for beer drinkers.
Yeah.
The thing that I found, I don't know, troubling is not the right word, weird, I guess, is eating in the dark.
Yes.
Eating in the dark is weird.
That takes some getting used to, and especially because I kept having to tip my little container that they were in, at trying to tip it and get it just right in the light so I could tell if there was anything still in there.
Yeah, and it's definitely You have to have supreme trust in their kitchen.
Yeah. Yep. That is true too.
Yep, I could have pulled out the cell phone flashlight, but I did not. I kind of looked at. They got a little. Well, I'm going to call it a night light,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right at back level between you and the seat next to you. And I kind of held it up to that and looked. Said, "All right, passes dim light inspection, so I'm good."
Yeah, I stuck I held a forkful of it up in front of the screen so that I could use the light from the screen to see it, and like, nah, it looks like a shadow of a tater tot, so I'm gonna eat it.
Yeah, it's like, well, this is crunchy. I hope that's bacon bits. But and it was. No, I'm not taking anything away from it. The food was good. Uh, we Morph and I both got what was called the loaded tots,
Yep,
which was just basically tater tot nachos.
yep,
We'll
and
just
they
go
were.
ahead and call that.
I'll take it. They were good.
They
Cheese
were
and
good.
bacon.
Yeah, I know when the food's good when we leave the restaurant. My wife's like, next time I'm going to order this, so which means she liked it well enough she wants to try something else. So that's
Right.
always a positive. So we want to get the mac. She wants to get the mac and cheese next time we go.
Yeah, and I think I've had that one time there. That's their food is really good, and realistically, price wise, it's not that bad when you go and break it down for if you're gonna go see like if you're gonna go to dinner somewhere and then go see the movie, you're gonna spend about the same amount if you just go eat while you watch the movie, and it basically kills two birds with one stone. I mean,
Absolutely.
I like it in the sense, especially when the very few times that my wife and I actually get to go see a movie without the kids, um, we almost always go to the cinema suites for two reasons. One, we don't have, since it's over 21, you don't have any teenagers there annoying you during the movie, and you can have your beer while you're drinking or while you're watching the movie, but also because we can do dinner and a movie and keep it in a condensed time frame, so it's not an entire day, it's just you're a couple hours. So I highly recommend cinema suites for anyone who hasn't done it and wants a full experience. That one, it's really cool.
Yeah, it's definitely cool. And like I said, getting the beer before you enter and then bringing it in with you is a pretty good perk.
Yeah.
And nobody under 21 is a fantastic perk. We live in Kansas, and people will take their small children to some of the movies you would not expect children to be in. So
Yeah,
it was nice being in a theater where nobody's going to bring an 8-year-old to Deadpool.
exactly.
But you go to another theater and you'll see it. It's sad, but it's the truth. So
Yep, agreed. So while we're on the movie topic, did you hear the news that Sony is now pushing for a Venom standalone movie?
I kind of caught some rumblings about that. Not being the huge comic book guy, I'm going to have to refer to you. What do you think of this? Is Venom good enough to lead a movie?
Well, you know, I'm not real sure. I don't know how they're going to do this. For a couple things. Okay, everybody know. I guess Venom is the black symbiote that takes over. That first basically coexists with Peter Parker in the third Spider-Man movie, which I'm sure is everyone's favorite Spider-Man movie, uh, where he's dancing on a table. Uh, the black suited Spider-Man is more commonly referred to. That is the Venom symbiote, and after in the comic books, after Peter Parker realizes that this is what the symbiote's trying to do, which is basically corrupt Peter Parker and make him evil. The Peter Parker tries to get rid of the symbiote. It ends up basically bonding with Eddie Brock, who doesn't like Peter Parker, and Eddie Brock and the symbiote become Venom, and becomes one of Spider-Man's biggest arch nemesis. He's the guy, the one villain that knows who Peter Parker is, that knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man because the symbiote is alive and knew when he joined with Spider-Man, he knew who he was. Venom is also the only one that Spider-Man's spider sense didn't work with, because the symbiote knew Spider-Man and was joined with Spider-Man at one point. He basically has all the strengths to Spider-Man's weaknesses. So I'm curious to see how they do this movie. If they write this movie to be where they're centering it around Venom as a bad guy, and I don't know how you do that in a movie. It would definitely be interesting.
I guess, Dexter, the hero in that TV show, was a villain, so maybe you can do it.
Yeah, but is he? But in the end, is he really I mean, and I watched part of Dexter, but once it moved to Showtime or whatever, I wasn't able to watch it. I mean, in that show, was he really a villain, or was he, or was he still doing good but doing bad things for good reasons?
He was doing good things for bad reasons. He was taking out bad guys because he had to kill somebody, and right. Taking out the bad guys was less likely for people to actually look too hard for them.
I gotcha.
Dexter, down to the core, psychopath, total serial killer, no human emotion, blah, blah, blah. Everything you read about serial killers, that was him. But the way the show was done, you rooted for him. You rooted for the serial killer, which is weird to say. You just did. So depending how they spin Venom, kind of sounded weird, but anyway, you could be where he is the bad guy, but they spin it right and you kind of root for him. I don't know.
Yeah.
It depends on what angle they take. I mean, do they take it from, all he wanted to do was be part of Spider-Man, and then Spider-Man shits on him and he turns him evil, or,
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, because Eddie Brock, the relationship between Eddie Brock and Peter Parker is they were both photographers for the Daily Bugle, and Peter Parker got all the accolades for his pictures of Spider-Man, and Eddie Brock basically got pushed to the side and became a second-tier photographer because Peter got such better pictures than he did. And so him joining with Venom, basically, Venom, the Venom symbiote, was pissed at Peter Parker for not accepting him or accepting the symbiote. So you had two entities that didn't like Peter Parker that now joined together that hated Peter Parker and Spider-Man. And so basically everything they did was trying to eliminate Spider-Man. Like, that was the central focus of Venom. Now, recently in the comic books, Venom has been really popular in the comic books and always has been because he's kind of a really cool character. But in the comic books, Venom has somehow gone through the change of being a bad guy to being a good guy. So I guess maybe they could go that route in the movies, but without some sort of backstory to help with that conflict, to me, it would just be like another Spider-Man movie. Like, there's no reason to get behind Venom if you don't know the conflict there. So
yeah, I don't know what. Like, they would be pretty smart to start off with the rivalry photographership of the two.
Yeah,
and then work from there. Yeah, I'd be interested to see where they go with this. It's fascinating, and you know, I'm good with another comic book movie. I
Yeah.
mean, we have not been disappointed in the last few years, so
Well, and the one thing they've got going that Sony's got going for them, according to Variety, Sony has hired Dante Harper to pen the script, and Harper is known for rewriting the Edge of Tomorrow, which I heard was actually really pretty good.
yeah, I still need to see that because I think that's gonna be I think that's a heck of a movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen it either, but from all I've heard, the basically Harper's rewrite of that movie is what made that movie actually good. So, um, maybe there's hopes that Harper's got a way of telling a story that maybe he can find a way to tell this story that makes it really good and makes it different from just a normal Spider-Man
I
movie.
hope so. Because honestly, the Spider-Man movies, I have not been overly impressed with any of them. Not Tobey
Yeah,
Maguire, not Andrew Garfield. I think the first Andrew Garfield incarnation I thought was decent,
right.
but not a big fan of the way they did the Spider-Man movies. So
Well, and I
maybe
think
Venom will be better.
Well, and I think part of the problem is they keep going back to the same story. The same story. They're not telling new stories. They keep telling the same stories. So we keep getting a Green Goblin. We keep getting the same bad guys. We keep getting the damn origin story. I don't need to see him get bit by any more spiders. Can we move on from this? I understand you're rebooting because you guys suck at finding an actor to play this role, but like
Well,
let's
I thought
let's
Andrew
just
Garfield was excellent as Peter Parker and Spider-Man. I just felt like the story sucked.
Well, yeah, well, and I think, honestly, I didn't even mind Tobey Maguire as actual Spider-Man. The problem is you can't cast a 30-something-year-old as Spider-Man and expect to be able to tell more than a couple movies with him because by the time you get to that third movie, the guy is well out of the high school age to be able to be in the show. And I don't know if anyone's read any Spider-Man comics lately, but a few years ago they got into that same problem where Peter Parker got older and he got married and was going to have a kid, and they had to go with this storyline called A Brand New Day, which pissed off a ton of people, where they took Peter Parker and made him all of a sudden he's back to a high school student, because you can tell way more intriguing stories with Peter Parker being the nerdy high school kid trying to be a nerdy high school kid and a superhero than you can him being a working stiff with a full family, and that nerdy dad doesn't really work as well, because there's a lot of us out there that are nerdy dads, and it's really not that intriguing. We
Well,
know
then
what
maybe you should have your kid bitten by a spider and see what happens then,
there
since
you go.
you already got half of it covered being the nerdy dad.
Yeah, but I'm afraid that means I die. I don't really want to die.
Oh, that's true. That's true. I think the best Spider-Man thing I've seen is that meme where he's in the grocery store and he sees Uncle Ben's rice and he drops to his knees. I think that's probably the best Spider-Man thing I've seen.
That is funny. That is funny.
So let's hope that Venom kind of captures what Marvel's doing and makes a
Well,
compelling movie, best Spider-Man thing.
yeah, and well, they do. The one advantage I guess they do have is Marvel. Disney, Marvel Studios has got a little bit more of a stake in what happens with Spider-Man now that they've got a joint deal with Sony. So we'll see. We'll just have to see what happens there. See if Marvel has to sign off on this script as well. So what are you watching now, Mr. Kip?
Well, last week, I guess it was last week's podcast, talked about how I've been having to take spins around Netflix and Amazon Prime and all that, trying to find something to watch. Well, those days are now over because last Friday, House of Cards was released on Netflix, season 4. Binge watching the hell out of that show. It's 13 episodes. Finished episode 12 tonight. So tomorrow night we'll see the grand finale. I won't spoil anything other than I'll just tell you this season is an election year.
Nice.
And it really makes you think about the way candidates run their candidacy, I guess is the best way to put it.
So is it an election year on the show? Is that?
Yeah. Election year. They're mimicking what's going on, at least as far as election year. There's no Donald Trump type of candidate, but yeah, it's been fascinating. It's been a really good episode. I think I like it better than our season. I think I like it better than season 3. To me, season 3 felt a little flat, especially the way it ended. Even though it was a big changes season, it just felt weird. This one, back to it. All the tension and scheming and everything that you liked from the first 2 seasons, season 4 has them. It's been really good, and if you haven't watched any of season 4 or any of House of Cards and you have Netflix, I highly recommend getting started. The downside is it comes out in March, 13 episodes, and in one weekend you watched all 13. You have to wait another year to watch any more. But it's so good, you have to binge watch it, because you can't. Every time an episode ends, it's like, oh, now I have to see what happens. I got to see how they resolve this. And so you watch another one, and the next thing you know, it's like, I really should go to bed. It's probably not good to be up this late. But, yeah, without spoiling anything, I'll just tell you, they've captured the magic of the first 2 seasons.
Awesome.
You know, Doug Stamper, big fan of his. He's been good in this season. Their press secretary, Seth, he's starting to get into his own now. Growing a pair, as I say, as we watch each episode. Nev Campbell is in this season. And I made this comment to my wife, and she totally agrees. Nev Campbell may be one of the only women in Hollywood who looks better now that she's older than she did when she was younger.
Really?
Yeah. You look at Nev Campbell and I was like, damn, you're hot. What happened to you when you were 20? You didn't look like this. So she's been a nice addition, not just because she looks good, but her character is great, and she does a really nice job. I'm just enjoying it. All the characters that I've liked coming through, they all played pretty major parts. There's even some scenes with the former president, so that's all good.
Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, it's one of those series that's on my list of things to watch.
Have you watched any?
I have not watched any of them. I don't even remember why. There was something on there that I was going to watch the first one, and then I think the first season came out before I was able to get my house all networked together to where I could watch Netflix in other rooms other than sitting in my basement. And the problem with watching Netflix when I'm sitting in my basement, my Xbox and my computer are down in the basement. And so a lot of the times I'm like, I could be watching the show or I could be playing a video game.
Yeah,
and the video game usually wins out because there's very few times that I have available to sit and watch or to play a video game. So,
well, now that the 4 seasons are out, you're in a good spot if you wanted to start watching, because then what happens between season 1 and season 2, you won't have forgotten.
Right.
When 2 covers back up, it's like, oh yeah, who was that person again? Which is I've been doing a lot in season 4.
Yeah.
There's a guy at the beginning of the season that they kind of focused on for a little bit, and I thought he was somebody else until they were done with that storyline, got to the other guy, and it's like, are they flashing back? Why are they getting back to this guy? And then it dawned on me, well, that wasn't him. So it
Nice.
took me a minute. So it almost should have watched season 3 before season 4 started. But since you haven't watched any of them, and if you ever decide to just binge watch it, you wouldn't have that discontinuity of a whole season playing on your memory.
Good to know. Well, it's at the top. It's on my list. It's not quite at the top because right now I'm watching the current season of The Blacklist, which is
Which is
just
also fantastic.
phenomenal. I think I'm 5 or 6 episodes into this season, and man, that's just such a great show. I got caught up on it I got caught all the way up to the current season, and then I just started watching this season, and man, I love the way that they where they're having to still catch a guy on the blacklist. He's still handing the FBI information on bad guys that he wants them to capture, but only because he needs information from them, and so he needs it to be played down just right. And so I'm curious to see what the end game is, because it's Spader's, he's got that plan is there, and I just want to know what it is. I want to get to the end to figure it out because.
Oh yeah, and he's smarter than everybody else, and things just play into his hands perfectly. And which, I think is fun to watch in a TV show. And when you get into House of Cards, the main character played by Kevin Spacey is the same way.
Oh, nice.
Except for imagine Red Reddington breaking the fourth wall.
Oh.
That's what Kevin Spacey's like in House of Cards.
Nice. Well, yeah. I really am going to have to check that one out. I might have to move it up a little higher on the list then.
There you go.
Well, since I haven't been watching a lot of TV shows, I have been playing some games. And I have another episode recorded that will probably go up this week, or will go up this week, for Geekvice Gaming, which is me finishing out XCOM Enemy Unknown. I had already played through, there'd been a couple episodes recorded of me trying to play through this final level, and there'll be one more episode, and this is the final level. I do get to see the credits rolling at the end of it. So
nice.
You'll have to tune in to our YouTube channel and our playlist. It's called Geekvice Gaming, and look for the next episode of XCOM Enemy Unknown, because you will get to see if I actually make it through this or not. Just because I saw the end credits does not mean I actually made it through unscathed. So go find out who gets there, who makes it and who doesn't out of my group of warriors. But there was a big deal on Steam this last weekend, and I picked up a game on my wish list called Styx, Master of Shadows. I've only played about 45 minutes of this game. I kind of wanted to see how it played, get my first impressions of it, and see if this game would be something that I could do for Geekvice Gaming. I definitely think it can. So this game will get recorded and put up on there once I get back in it, and I will start from the beginning. So this will be the first game on Geekvice Gaming where I will play through it unspoilered and have no idea what I'll be walking into, and you guys get to watch me do it and see if I fall flat on my face.
It was a free download on PS4 a few months back, and I downloaded it, and I played about 20-25 minutes, and then life gets in the way and I had to stop, and I haven't picked it back up, but I do remember enjoying the part that I did play, and that's a game I need to get back into.
Yeah, the gameplay for it, it's very it feels a lot like Assassin's Creed. in the
Yeah.
sense that you're a stealth type, you're a goblin who's trying to get something. That's the other thing. The story for this is really intriguing, so I really kind of want to see where this goes. Um, but you're a goblin and you're trying to sneak through this area, and the it feels like Assassin's Creed in that sense, but the tactics and the way it plays through is a lot different. It's not as parkour, running through open areas. You're really inside this castle, or it kind of
Yeah,
seems
you're
like,
hiding in the shadows, and
yeah,
yeah.
and since you're a little goblin, you're smaller stature, then you're looking for more tunnels and corridors and hidden areas to sneak through and get around different ways. But you can also climb up things and go over the top. From what I've read, this game, every level is supposed to have multiple ways to get from point A to point B, and you can figure out which way you want to do it. Uh, the only downside to this game, or the only downside that I've come across so far, is I do not like the combat system. The combat system is set up very um, quick, almost like a quick time event. So a guy comes at you in combat, and he's going to swing his sword, and it'll tell you to mash a button or to hit a button at the right timing to parry the attack. And if you don't get that timing right, then you get hit, which is annoying. If you get that timing right a couple times, then it gives you an option to kill them when you parry the attack. So uh, I'm not good with reflexes. I do not have very good reflexes, which I think is part of the reason why I suck at first person shooters so bad. Um, but it's the one part of the game that frustrates me, because I don't have that timing or that reflex to when it tells you to hit the button at the right time to block the attack. So I actually, in 45 minutes, I played through very little of this game because I kept dying whenever I got into hand-to-hand combat. And so, but with that said, I'm still looking forward to play this game, even with not liking the combat, because my favorite way to play through a stealth game is to not kill anybody, is to try to sneak through without drawing attention to yourself, without touching anyone unless you absolutely have to, unless it's a silent takedown. And that works really well in this game. Because there's two types of silent takedowns that you can get, or stealth takedowns. One is a muffled kill where you actually cover the guy's mouth so that he doesn't scream, and the other one is you just kill him and he screams. So it's going to make it a lot more fun. It takes more time to do a muffled kill than it does just stabbing them real quick. So it's really cool in that dynamic. So I think the fact that I don't like the combat system is going to push me into playing it the way I like to play. So I'm looking forward to it. We're going to give it a shot. See what happens.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to, like I said, I'm gonna have to break it back out. Maybe we can compare notes.
Yeah, definitely. The other game that I played, and I actually just played it tonight, and I'm going to reach down here and grab this box because I borrowed this from Kip, and it is Dungeons and Dragons Legend of Dritz, the board game. So Kip let me borrow this game because I like playing games with my kids, and my oldest son, has been wanting me to play Dungeons and Dragons with them. And the board game, the Dungeons and Dragon adventure board games are really the best way to play when you don't have enough people to play a full group, or enough time to sit down and play through a full campaign. And so we borrowed this and played through it tonight. Both boys and myself played through it, and we actually, it was a lot of fun. I treated this game, at least tonight playing through it, I treated it less like the board game is supposed to be treated, and more like we were actually running a D&D campaign. So we went through this solo encounter where my son was the single player, and I played as basically the guy in charge of all the rules and all the bad guys. So every time a bad guy came up, instead of my son having to keep track of both his character and the bad guy, I just kept track of the bad guy. And it actually worked out really well. It played really well that way. So I think if we get some of his friends together, we might do that same thing. And I'll play as we get into the group games. Maybe I'll play as a playable character and all the bad guys, because I'm well. This game says it's 12 plus. My oldest son turns 7 in April, so he is not anywhere close to the recommended age. And him keeping track of the powers and abilities of one character was hard enough for him. I could see it getting a little cumbersome for him to try to keep track of his playable character and the bad guys that he draws on his turn. So I might have to figure out a way to manage both. We'll have to see. Well, it might get a little hairy for me trying to keep track of which characters came out for which person too, but
Yeah.
we'll figure it out.
Well, the game was pretty cool. I imagine for me it was pretty cool. I imagine for younger kids it's extremely cool. And I like the minis of that game.
Yeah.
The box is humongous because minis.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's a tile. The board is a tile laying kind of a board. It's random draw. The rules are based on some scenarios that they laid out. So it's rules, some tiles, and a shit ton of minis. And yeah, see, there's the dragon.
Yeah, the adventures that they give you in here actually are really kind of cool because they follow along the books that I actually have of Dritz. And the miniatures are actually they're really well done. I will say, with all the different bags of miniatures that are all different ones, there's some miniatures, there's some more miniatures, there's 3 more bags of miniatures. When you've got to try to figure out which bad guys you're looking for, that takes a little bit of time, and there's the setup for the game, especially for the first time playing, the setup for the game is actually a little overwhelming. And because I'd never set up this game before, and that was probably my fault. I should have played through it once by myself just to get a better understanding of how it all lays together and what all the stuff I needed and where it all was. That became a little tiring because the boys were sitting there getting antsy, wanting to play, while I'm still trying to figure out, okay, well, where's this piece? And I need it. What do I do with these pieces? And that kind of stuff. So I know playing through it this time that I went back and read back through the rules and looked at some other stuff that I thought didn't seem to play right after we were done, and realized I missed a few rules. I wasn't handing out treasure every time you defeated a bad guy. We didn't use the experience points correctly. We used them to level up his character, but we didn't use them to cancel some of the attacks, which is kind of important when you start getting down to where you're going to get wiped out. He did make it through only having to use 1 healing surge, so that was good. That at least made him feel good. But I think he probably wouldn't have even had to use that if we would have used some of the experience points from beating some of the bad guys. But he did a great job playing. It was a lot of fun. He's excited to play with his friends and get some of his friends over to play this game. So, and since this requires a lot less dungeon mastering than a regular D&D game, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think they're going to like it. It's something they can just decide, hey, one evening we want to play this game, and I can just sit down, throw it together, and play the game without much prep time. So
yeah, I figured it would work perfect for you. Having the busy life, you don't have time to plan out a mission or a storyline. It's prepackaged.
Yeah. Well, and the worst part is trying to figure out is actually planning oh, okay, well, when are we going to do it? Because that's the other thing is okay, well, if we're gonna play a game of D&D, then I need to make sure I have all these different pieces and I got all this stuff laid out and I've got it all ready. And a lot of the times it's 2 or 3 of the kids going, "Hey, we want to play now." Well, I don't have the stuff ready now. We can't. By the time I get it all ready, nobody's gonna want to play. So no. But with this game, we can just pull out the box, open it up, and run through an adventure, or even just doing a custom adventure and not necessarily the pre-written one would even work. So
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. If you just want to slay monsters, you can just set it up with no real goal and just
slay monsters.
slay monsters. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Lots of fun. Lots of fun. So the one other thing that I wanted to throw out there is Kip and I we're going to put together an event for International Tabletop Day, which is April 30th, which is the last Saturday in April. We are going to do this at Red Crow Brewery, which is in Spring Hill, Kansas. I think it's in Spring Hill.
It is in Spring Hill, yes.
And I'm in the process of putting together an event on our Facebook page so we can kind of get a head count of who all is going to come, because we're going to want to give Red Crow a heads up with how many people we're going to have there. But we're going to get together. I'll check and make sure they should have a food truck there. They usually do every Saturday, so there'll be food. They are a microbrewery, so they will definitely have beer. They have water and Gatorade as well for those of you that don't drink. And we're going to have some board games there. I know they have some, and then we will bring some of mine, and I'm sure Kip will bring some from his collection. There'll be some, I don't know, we'll probably try to make a gambit of it, but probably have some more party type games. Some people, those type of games, like I don't like a Flapjacks and Sasquatches, or
like an apples to apples or something.
Apples to apples, yeah. And then we'll probably also have some other games. Like I know I'll bring Legendary. Maybe we even bring the Legend of Dritz, because that can play fairly quickly.
I've got 1 or 2 games that I could possibly bring.
Yeah, I mean,
you've got a small collection.
Yeah, he's only got like maybe 2 games that he owns, like 200 or something like that.
117, but who's counting?
117. So yeah, so we'll have some games there to play. So the big thing is that we're going to need to get a head count in the next few weeks, so that we can talk with Red Crow about what we're going to do and how we can get it all set up, and make that all happen. But we are going to do it. We're looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. And yeah, so follow us on the Facebook page, and you will see an event coming up there here in the next couple days. I'm trying to figure out how to write it up to where we can get people saying yes, they are coming, or no, they're not.
And if you don't want to be videotaped or audio recording, fear not. We will not force any of that on anybody. We may just do a bare minimum.
Yep.
Kind of a thing, but the big deal is we just want to play some games, hang out with some people, and have a good time. We'll probably take some pictures to put up on our Facebook page just to show everybody how much fun we had, and to share the wealth for those that can't make it. But yeah, mark it on your calendars. April 30th, last Saturday in April. Time has yet to be determined, but it'll probably be in the afternoon sometime, because people don't drink beer in the mornings. What? Yeah, and they don't open till noon on Saturday.
Yeah.
So if you don't drink beer in the morning, fear not. We don't start till noon. So.
Exactly. Well, and that helps Kip, because he doesn't get up before noon.
Well, not anymore.
So yeah, again, follow us on our Facebook page. You can also follow us on our blog and all the other places we have. The blogs at geekvice.blogspot.com. You can follow us on Google Plus and Facebook. Just search for Geekvice. You can follow us and subscribe, like our YouTube channel, which is you can get the easiest way to get to it is tiny.cc/Geekvice. Or you can go to YouTube and search for Geekvice. You will find us that way. Or search for Kip Morph. That's the other easy way to find it. And you can follow us on Twitter. You can follow that man on Twitter at Kip Killigan. You can follow me on Twitter at Geekvice. And of course, you can always email us at geekvice@gmail.com. Thanks everybody for listening, and we will see you next week.
Later.